to talk about this juror?
Yes, Judge.
What says the state?
The state has no problem excusing her. I doubt very seriously we'll get to her. And if we do, it would be well after the dates of her vacation.
What do you say?
We don't object.
She can be excused. Totally said both way up. All right. Let's bring jurors.
That's all right. Walk the step.
Yeah, you have to be careful in the courtroom. One time I fell out of my chair.
Please be seated.
They had real long hair, and I fell out of the chair, and they said it was almost black hair that came flying. So that obviously was a while back that happened to me. All righty, I think we're ready to go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Juror 28. So, I'm looking at the name of your company and what you do. You own your own company, correct?
Yes, I do.
How long have you worked in that particular field?
42 years.
So I take it that's your entire professional career?
Yes.
All right, and your wife is a retired teacher?
Yes.
Where did she teach?
Satilla Marsh Elementary Special Education.
I believe you said now she's working in the home taking care of your 14-month-old grandchild?
That's correct.
All right, a couple of the questions that we asked you about relationships and things like that. I believe you stated that you know a criminal defense attorney?
No, sir.
Okay, tell me about that. Like, are they all local or?
Yeah, when I was in college, I worked for a law firm in town.
Okay.
And did abstract work, searching real estate titles and stuff.
Okay.
So I know a bunch of older attorneys, and newer ones, not so much.
Okay. So this is from, I guess, years ago, back in their law firm, back when you were younger.
In the late 70s.
Okay. Anything about what you learned working for those attorneys that would in any way impact your ability to be fair to both sides in this case?
Not really there. No.
Okay. Is there somewhere where it would?
I went to John Marshall Law School.
Okay. So when you talked about legal training and stuff like that,
That's it.
all right. So was that the campus up in Atlanta?
No, actually, they had a branch here in Brunswick.
Okay. I knew that I think they're building one in Savannah too, or they have built
They
one.
had one for years in Savannah, and when federal law first came to town here, federal law requested they put a branch here so they could train some people for out there.
Yes, sir.
And I was fortunate enough to help fill out that class.
Oh, wow, great. Have you ever practiced as an attorney? Okay. Well, congratulations. Yeah, you were smart. Have you ever thought about going back into it and doing law?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Don't have a stomach for it.
Yes, sir. When you went to law school, did you have any particular interest, like what you wanted to go for, any particular type of practice?
Not really. At that time, I didn't.
Okay. Now, if you were selected as a juror, I mean, everybody comes into this with their own experiences and things like that. If you were selected as a juror, would you, how long ago was it that you went to law school?
Late 70s.
Okay. What you learned back then, if you took criminal law classes or anything like that, would you substitute your opinion about the law from that in regard to what is brought out in court and what the judge instruction?
It's hard not to remember things you've learned before.
Okay. I guess what I'll ask you then, if you were selected as a juror, would you agree to follow the law that the judges instruct you on and the evidence in the courtroom?
I would, but it'd be hard to, like I say, not remember what you need.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to reserve to follow up on that anymore. We're going to talk about several other of the answers in private anyway. So, all right. Thank you. You stated that, well, obviously you supervise people. You own your own business.
Yep.
How many people do you supervise at your business?
Currently 2.
Okay. And obviously you have the ability to hire and fire.
Absolutely.
And you probably had to do both over the years.
In the last week.
Sorry to hear that. Or congratulations.
But,
Yes. All right. You know people who work in law enforcement?
sure.
Okay, tell me about that.
Went to school and played ball with the ex-sheriff here in town.
Okay.
Got a really good friend that was GBI. He's now one of the chief directors at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center.
Okay.
Of course, I know several other people that have been in law enforcement for years. I had a neighbor who was a police officer. I've been here all my life, so I know a lot of people.
Yes, sir. And you also being down there, you know a lot of people who've been in the military before.
Sure.
Okay.
My father was in the National Guard. My father-in-law was in the Air Force in Korea. Two of the closest ones.
Okay.
Family.
So we already talked about your knowledge of people or somebody that has legal training, you. You know somebody who, or people or family members who work in the medical field or have worked in the medical field?
Got a daughter-in-law who works at the hospital. She works in the ER, OR, and outpatient surgery area.
And what's her job?
She's a Marine.
Okay. You also say you know somebody that's either trained or studied criminology?
Well, I referred that back to law school.
Okay, all right. Some of the aspects of criminal law,
Like I
things
said,
like that.
a good friend that's out of federal law, and of course he's been an instructor
Yeah.
in federal law, and he works in that field.
You also know somebody who either has or in the past or currently works for Child Protective Services or DFACS?
No, not going to work for defects.
Okay.
My wife being a teacher dealt with defects.
Ah, okay. I got you. And also, I believe you know somebody who works in the IT field or in computers and programming and things?
Yes, my son has a friend who's an IT guy that worked part-time for us a couple years ago.
Okay.
He now lives in Atlanta. I've got a tenant that rents from me in the building that I own that's next door to this computer guy.
All right. Having been in Glenn County, I'm going to bet this was probably in Glenn County. You served on a jury before?
Several times.
Okay. How many times?
I've been on 2 criminal cases.
Okay. Let's talk about the first one. About how long ago was the oldest one?
The oldest one was probably 15 years ago.
And what type of case was it?
It was a case where a guy was arrested for having drugs in his house.
And without telling me the verdict, were you able to reach a verdict?
Absolutely.
Okay. And were you the foreperson?
No.
All right. Second case.
Second case was about 2 guys that pimped out this girl and put her up in a motel, and she cashed in her motel room and bought drugs from somebody else. And they abducted her and held her against her will and that kind of thing.
I got you. And how long ago was that one, just approximately?
Probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Without telling me what your verdict was, were you able to reach a verdict?
Yes, we did.
I take it you've been on a civil case before, too?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've been parties to civil cases.
Okay. Well, have you ever been a juror on one, or?
I haven't been a juror on a civil case.
Okay. Civil case you've been a party to, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You go to a church or attend a church or belong to
First Baptist Church of Boston.
All right. Now, we'll talk a little bit about technology and stuff. I believe you use text messaging on your phone, correct?
Every day.
And you have a smartphone?
Yes.
I guess as a business person, it's kind of attached to you now, isn't
I
it?
got an iPhone 6.
All right. So, do you use any of those other cell phone messaging apps that are live texting, like Facebook Messenger, that type of
I
stuff?
don't use Facebook Messenger, but we do use sometimes Skype.
Yeah.
We also use iMessaging through Apple,
Yes.
but that's about it.
Okay. Now, how about Facebook and social media and all that stuff?
All right, I have a personal Facebook account, and I look to see pictures of my grandchildren.
Yeah.
We also have a Facebook account for our business, where we post pictures of jobs and that kind of stuff. I do use Facebook in my business. Some of the nationwide, there's Facebook groups that deal in our industry.
Yes, sir.
So different people post things that they run into in our industry, or different problems, or different solutions, that kind of stuff. And I look at it every day.
Great. And the Craigslist, you use Craigslist as well.
Yes.
And what do you use that for?
Buy and sell things.
Kind of going on not just the social media stuff, but the media. What, are you a big news follower or things like that? Okay. And where do you usually get your news? Internet, TV, radio?
All the above.
what is your main source? What do you look to the most? Do you look on the internet, like on your phone, or?
Main source is probably TV and internet.
Okay. And do you prefer national or local? Or do you?
Both.
Okay. Now, you answered that you watch some kind of legal TV shows and things like that. Tell me about that. Like,
Well, I watch CSI, Law and Order, all that kind of stuff.
obviously, you figured out this ain't going to take an hour. Right. And with CSI, do you, I guess, let me see how to put this. Some people, I guess, think that you can really do all that stuff they do on TV.
No, you can't.
Okay. It's very frustrating sometimes when people expect, like, oh, you can go do this and that. I'm like, that's not the real world.
No.
Do you watch any legal talk shows, anything like that?
I try not to.
Okay. They annoying?
Yes.
All right. I believe you stated that you've also either read or listened to or watched some kind of docudrama or something about criminal cases or a
Well,
criminal
I
issue.
saw OJ and Casey Anthony and the Menendez brothers and all that kind of stuff. Seen documentaries on Manson and that kind of stuff. That's a variety of things.
You've known somebody who's been arrested for something. I think we
Yes.
all have to raise our hand in here, but okay, tell me about that.
I had a nephew that was arrested. He and his friend be able to ride around, and his friend decided he needed to pick up some 204s off the job site.
Mm-hmm.
He got
Weren't
arrested
his.
for that. He got
Right.
a cousin that's in the banking business, and he got arrested and prosecuted for when the bank failed. They prosecuted him for failure of bank.
I got you. And do you have any opinion about how those cases were handled? Were you close enough to it to have an opinion as to whether they were treated fairly or not? Now, getting back to, I think you talked about being a party to some type of civil suit.
Yes.
You stated that I think you've been a witness before in like a
Yes.
civil proceeding. Okay, tell me a little about that. Like how many times? Probably more than
The
one.
only time I've really been a witness, we were
Okay.
in a case where we had been sued by a customer who rented a piece of equipment,
Okay.
and our insurance company at first hired an attorney to defend us, and then they hired an attorney to get him out of the case.
Okay.
So we ended up in court fighting our insurance company over whether or not we had coverage.
Okay.
And I had to testify in that case.
All right. I believe you said that you've had to file a police report before, or at least give a statement to the police.
Yes, we had a burglary in our home. We also had break-ins in our commercial business.
Did you answer the question? I think there was something about a child abuse investigation, like you've known somebody who's been either investigated or you know somebody who's had to report that?
Well, my nephew was removed from his mother's custody and placed in my mom and dad's custody because of child neglect.
Okay.
And they dealt with defects on that.
Okay. Did he end up okay, the child?
Yeah, he ended up living with my mom and dad the rest of his life.
Okay. And you transported kids to daycare before?
Yeah, almost every day. For a while, and then, of course, I get grandkids now.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about that is you're a grandfather, so you can, at the end of the day, be like, all right, well, actually, with y'all with a 14-month-old in the house, it's,
Yeah, and she lives directly across the street, too, so we see.
wow, yeah. All right. Just give me a second, sir.
Sure.
That's all I have to. Thanks, sir.
Hey, good morning. Follow up first on your business. You indicated that your business is window treatments.
Yes, we sell blinds and shutters.
How'd you get into that?
Kind of through evolution. We started out as a paint wall curtain store and added window treatments in 1980 as an additional component to the business when we were trying to be a full-service decorating center. And over the years, we weeded out everything else and got left with blinds and shutters.
Okay. So do you have to travel much?
Fair amount.
Out of state or just in the region?
I do go out of state every now and then, but most of the time it's local.
Okay. You've got, if I understand correctly, the way that, the way you answered this was, your wife's retired and takes care of your 14-month-old granddaughter.
Correct.
Right. But she doesn't live with y'all. She lives across the street.
She lives across the street.
Okay. Right. And you indicated that you do a lot of transporting her to daycare.
Well, not her to daycare. I mean, not daycare. We do a lot of transporting her.
Okay.
Going places and all. And of course, I got 2 other grandchildren that we end up taking to school and daycare sometimes also. So don't live, next door to us, across the street.
Okay. Is that part of your regular routine
No,
in the morning?
not those 2. No.
Okay.
I mean, we transport them. My wife transports them on a regular basis, just because she keeps them every now and then.
Right.
But I don't transport them on a regular basis because I only really see them on like the weekends or in the afternoons, that kind of stuff. Now, we do have car seats in our car all the time. All 3 of them have car seats in the car.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm familiar with transporting kids and them going to sleep and the whole 9 yards.
You both you and your wife keep car seats in your car.
We keep car seats in my wife's car. I drive a pickup truck.
Okay. All right.
I don't have car seats in my pickup truck.
All right. So when y'all got them on the weekend, it's probably easier just to take her car whenever y'all go.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So neither you or your wife then are in a position of having any kind of routine where y'all are transporting a child in a car seat on a regular basis.
Well, my wife transports my granddaughter all the time. I mean, almost every day. They're going somewhere doing something, and she's got the young in the car. Now, I don't, but she does.
To the store, or dry cleaners, or to visit friends,
Wherever
or
she
park,
wants to
or
go.
beach, or
Grocery
wherever.
store, shopping, to visit her parents, my parents, whatever they're doing that day.
But it's not the same place every day.
No.
And does she have your your grandchild during the day because her parents both work?
Yes.
All right, you went to John Marshall here in town in the 70s. Have you ever been a member of the state bar?
No.
All right, so you mentioned that it's hard not to remember what you do from what you may have learned in school.
Correct.
So you would have learned about, obviously, basic criminal procedure and rights. You would know about cross-examination.
Sure.
And you know that, we would have a chance to question any witnesses that the state may bring,
Sure.
such as police officers. Right?
I would assume anybody.
And so you've indicated to us that you've got a good friend in the GBI, and you know a lot of people in law enforcement.
Yes.
Certainly from living in the area and growing up in this area and whatnot. Do you think that it would be difficult for you to sit through a trial where law enforcement officers were going to be cross-examined and they were going to be asked very tough questions? You think that would be difficult for you?
I don't think that'd be difficult.
Okay. Would you understand and expect that was part of everybody's job, all lawyers' job, is
Sure.
to cross-examine witnesses?
Yes.
All right, and the case that you testified in, it's really pretty interesting, actually. The insurance company just up and decided that you didn't have coverage, so you had to hire counsel to go up basically after your own insurance company.
Correct.
I hope you changed insurance companies.
Absolutely.
But was that the matter that was contested? Was it strictly like the language of a contract, or were there factual disputes?
It boiled down to the fact that we told our agent locally that there was an occurrence. The agent told us until we got suit papers or anything ever came up that we were okay. I routinely kept them informed of what the situation was. 2 days before statute of limitations ran out, the sheriff's department started for suit papers. 10 minutes later, I was in the agent's office, delivered the suit papers to the agent. He said, "Don't worry about it, you're covered." The insurance agency claimed because we didn't notify them in writing that we were not covered. We had not properly given them notification and an opportunity for them to defend the suit. When we went to court, a jury found that, and they admitted under oath that the way most of the claim for process were that people told their agent, and their agent process what paperwork needed to be done. Well, the jury found that we did have coverage, and we were covered.
The agent,
Yes.
did he verify your version of the
Yes.
events?
Yes.
So there wasn't any
There was no
factual dispute.
There was no factual dispute.
And the two family members that you've mentioned who had some run-ins, one for theft and one for bank failure, you basically, you know them as through familial relationships, but you didn't follow those cases or have anything to do with those matters?
I did not.
Okay. Are you still in contact or friendly with these family members?
One of them I have pretty regular contact with, the other I don't see on a regular basis.
Okay.
He has since moved out of the area.
All right, you told us that you had either read or heard news accounts of stories of a child left in a car other than this case.
Yes.
Do you remember what it was that you were thinking of or what you heard when you answered that question?
Just all the reports, there seemed to be a rash of them in the last 3 or 4 years where people left kids in cars and they died. And I've seen news reports, of course, on TV, and I've seen articles on the internet.
And you said you've become aware of it the last few years,
Yes.
or you've seen reports the last few years.
Yes. That's when I really noticed it in the last few years. Of course, after I've had grandchildren and they've been in the car with me, I've been a lot more aware of that kind of stuff.
Do you have any kind of particular thing that you do as a reminder to remind you that you got the kids in the back?
I look every time I get out of the car. If I'm in a car with a car seat, I look whether they're there or not. It's just something I do.
It's become habit for you?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Did you do it with your own children when they were growing up?
Didn't have car seats back then. I mean, the restraint was your right arm. They'd sit in the seat beside you when you came to stop.
I can remember on long trips, we would lay in the back window of the car. That was a lot of fun. I'm sure it was ridiculously dangerous, but that's how it was. But now that you've got grandchildren and you're responsible, you have developed for yourself a routine of you getting out of the car and you're looking in the back seat. And you're doing it every single time.
Every single time.
You've trained yourself, so you're telling us you don't have to put a reminder back there. You don't have to put your shoe back there or your phone or anything like that.
No.
Does your wife do the same thing?
I can't answer for her.
Okay. Do y'all have a talk about it?
No, but I know she looks for them. I mean, she cares for them all the time.
Okay.
But we have not had that particular discussion.
Yeah. I'm curious. Did you pick up this? Did you pick up this routine, or did you pick up this habit because you started hearing these stories on TV or
Yes.
reading in the news?
Yes.
Were you familiar with the campaign out of the governor's office, the Look Again campaign?
I mean, I've heard the announcements on TV and radio.
Okay.
And like I say, I've noticed more recently because of the brain tumor.
Yeah.
Part of that, I didn't pay much attention.
If they were reported, you didn't stop and read it or take notes. The only other question that you had answered that I did want to ask you about was, we asked if you knew any family or friends who'd had an affair, and you indicated that you would fall into that category. Is that somebody you can tell us about?
Yeah, one of my best friends named Don.
I'm so sorry. Somebody coughed right when you said that. You're one of your best friends?
Named Don. You want his last name?
No. No. And is this something that was recent?
About 8 years ago.
8 years ago? All right. And he was married at the time and had an affair with somebody else?
Yes.
Okay. Was he telling you about it while it was going on?
No, he didn't tell me nothing.
Okay. All right. Are you still in contact with him? Are y'all still friendly?
Every day.
Okay. Is he a coworker?
No.
Thank you.
Good morning, almost afternoon. It's your 29. Doing well. How about yourself? All right. You entertained yet? Not really. Yeah. I can tell the enthusiasm shines through. All right. Well, let's get to it. So, you're an RN. How long have you been working in that field?
39 years.
Okay. You've been at your current job 6 months, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so, do you specialize in any particular type, like a pediatric or emergency room medicine or anything like that? I'm sorry?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Public health.
Public health, okay. And how about before that?
I started off in peds,
Uh-huh.
ICU, CCU, dialysis, med-surg. Should I continue?
I think we
Let's put everything except OBGYN.
Okay, I got you. All right. So I guess during the years you've had the opportunity to come into and to deal with cases involving traumatic injuries to children.
Yes.
And your wife is a respiratory therapist, correct?
Correct.
Dealing with dental medication?
Dental, sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea, okay. Okay, so I assume you've been doing that, what you're doing your whole professional career.
I was a mason for 10 years before I was a nurse.
Okay. All right. Going back to talking about a little bit of your knowledge about friends, family that worked in certain fields. I believe you've known somebody who's been in the military before.
Correct. My son,
And what branch was he in?
Army.
Thank him for his service. How long is he still in the Army?
No. He made it to the last week of boot camp, and then they booted him.
Well, thanks for his limited service. All right. And aside from yourself, you must know a ton of people in the medical field. So, is there anything else that sticks out other than you've worked in it your whole life that of note that we need to know? You would think. I wouldn't think so. But, okay.
I could be here for a couple hours if you need.
I don't think anyone here would appreciate that, especially your fellow jurors. You might have a mutiny on your hands, so you better watch behind you. So, all right. You have obviously you're licensed with your job, okay. And you attend a church or a religious group here in Glenn County?
My son is a guitarist.
Okay.
And he plays in local churches, so wherever he plays, that's where my wife and I are.
Okay.
Usually,
Is he? Go ahead. Sorry.
unless she's out of town.
All right. And is he in a particular church right now, or does he just go to different ones?
There's some different ones.
Okay. All right. Now you, as far as technology, you use a flip phone, right?
I do.
All right. Do you have internet capability on it?
I do not.
Okay. Have you ever used a cell phone that has internet capability? You kind
I
of.
have not.
Okay.
That's the only type of phone my wife and I could afford.
I understand. Those bills get kind of expensive when you get internet service. And,
Especially her phone,
oh, yeah.
because she's on it constantly. So.
All right. Do you use the internet much? Social media, things like that?
Just when I initially turn the computer on, the homepage shows us news
Okay. And so, do you follow the news much?
every day.
Okay. And you?
Except for the past week.
Very good. Ah, sharp one. Nice. All right. The judge is very impressed, I'm sure. So, when you follow the news, do you get most of your news from TV, radio, or other? All of it? Okay. Okay. As far as like social media like Facebook and YouTube and things like that, do you use that very often?
Facebook, just when my wife travels.
Okay.
So I know she got to where she was supposed to be.
Okay. I believe you stated you're familiar with Craigslist? You've used it before?
No.
Now you just know what it is.
I just know what it is.
And this may be from your profession, but you've had the opportunity to take care of somebody who's been sick or disabled or something like that before?
Correct.
Okay. Is that anything other than just what you've done through your profession?
Just through the profession.
I believe you also stated you volunteered with children in the past?
I have. I was a rec coordinator up in New York State for 7 years, 8 years.
Are you originally from New York?
No, I'm originally an hour south of the military academy,
Okay.
hour north of New York City.
Yes, sir. And obviously with children, you have 4 children, and then you have, 3 grandchildren, and then a baby? Oh, 5? Okay. I know you have 3 kids. Okay, tell me, you get 3 grandkids, a baby granddaughter, and tell me what you got.
3-year-old identical twins.
Ah, that's what it was. That counts.
7-year-old these are all boys.
Right.
4-year-old grandson and the 2-week-old granddaughter.
Wow. And do they all live nearby?
No.
Okay.
Just the identical twins and the 7-year-old.
Okay.
The other 3 are in Virginia.
All right. So obviously you've transported children to daycare and things like that before.
Correct.
And during your free time, if you have any, what do you like to do?
Grandchildren.
All right.
They take up their time. In fact, they're going to be at my house in 6 hours. So.
All right. Well, I'm done for now, so we'll see what we can do. Thanks, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, or good morning, I guess, still.
How are you?
I'm doing okay, thank you. All right, I was trying to write as fast as I could. You have 3-year-old twin grandsons.
Identical twins, correct. a 7-year-old grandson,
7-year-old grandson.
another 4-year-old grandson, and a 2-week-old granddaughter.
Those are all the ones you could remember.
Yes.
All right, and you had how many children?
3.
Okay.
2 daughters, and the youngest is a son. Ages?
No, they're all grown, right?
Correct.
Okay. And all these grandkids, do they all live in this area or close by?
Just the identical twin and a 7-year-old live in Brunswick.
Okay. All right. And so the 4-year-old and 2-week-old granddaughter,
Is in Virginia.
you have to visit in Virginia, right? How often do you get up there?
We just came back. I had to come back for
What about work? Do you have to come back for work?
yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. So when we're talking about those grandchildren that you have to transport on any kind of regular basis, we're really talking about the twins and the 7-year-old. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the 3-year-olds, the twins, they still are they in a booster seat by now?
They are.
Okay. Do y'all keep booster seats in your car?
We do.
When they were a little bit younger last year or whatnot, were y'all keeping full-blown car seats in your
Correct.
car? Okay. Both you and your wife? Okay. So y'all got a bunch of car seats?
We did.
Yeah.
We sold them off.
Okay. And if you had twins, then you were in a situation where, wow, that's a lot of car seats, where you had, I guess, 2 in the back of her car and then 2 in the back of your car, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Booster seat in the middle of
Okay. Booster seat for the now 7-year-old.
them. Correct.
And all right, so you said they're coming here at the end of the day today. Is that because they oftentimes spend the weekend with y'all?
Correct.
And I would assume that's the time of the week that y'all care for them the most, see them the most, and transport them the most.
I would say that.
Okay.
It's up to their discretion.
Up to the grandchildren's discretion.
Yeah.
All right. If
I
they
know that sounds weird, but
if they want to see y'all, they let it be known, and
no, they do.
they get to make the call.
They do.
Okay. Are you and your wife, either one, in the have a routine of taking them to daycare in the morning?
No.
Do you occasionally fill in that role Monday through Friday and take them to daycare?
We do.
Okay. Would that be a once a week or once a month sort of fill in?
I'd have to say once a month.
Okay. It's occasional. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. And what about picking them up? Or do y'all ever have the responsibility to pick them up from the daycare and bring them back to either your house or their parents'
With
house?
the twins, it's mostly picking them up at their parents' house.
Okay.
The 7-year-old, we sometimes pick him up at school or bring him to school.
Okay.
So it varies from week to week. So I can't be any more specific than that.
Okay. And do both parents of the twins work?
Yes.
All right. So is it fair to say that if they're both working, then that one of the parents has to take them each morning? Somebody's got to take them to daycare.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know which parent it is? Okay.
Depends really on what time my daughter-in-law has to be in the morning.
Okay. Whatever their routine is, that's their routine. You don't need to know about it.
Correct.
Fair to say? Okay.
When they call us, then we try to.
You're there.
That's what grandparents are all about.
Exactly. My parents moved 2 blocks away from my house. Originally, that was a little daunting, the thought of it. But we very quickly learned it was a wonderful thing to have grandparents 2 blocks away. All right. Let's see. All right, you two had indicated that you had read news accounts or stories, or heard news accounts or stories of a child left in a car, other than this case.
Correct.
Is there anyone in particular, or just generally you've heard about it? Okay. And is this something that you've heard on the radio or just showed up in the newspaper or on your internet feed?
Correct.
Okay. Nothing in particular that grabbed your attention and you ran with the story? How long have you, when is the first time you can remember hearing a story about this happening?
This happening?
Child being left in a car?
Probably the first case I heard about was probably 30 years ago.
Okay. Are you hearing about it more often now?
Yes.
And again, same kind of sources, just radio, news, internet, TV
Correct.
news. Okay.
30 years ago, there were no computers. It was just TV and radio.
Right.
Showing my age. Sorry.
Yeah, my daughter can't believe when I went to college, you didn't have your own computer. You just can't imagine, since she's had one since she was 8, that we could go to college and not have computers.
Term papers, you use a typewriter.
Exactly. All right. And you indicated that you'd also heard public service announcements regarding either. I think you said you heard public service announcements regarding not. Don't forget to get your animals out of your car.
Yeah.
Don't leave an animal in your car. All right. When and where have you heard those?
I just heard that this summer. So.
During the summer? Okay. Is it something you hear regularly during the summer, or was this the first time you noticed it?
That was the first time I noticed it.
Is that something on the radio?
That was on the weather channel.
All right. We also asked those who had children or grandchildren that fell into the category of children who fell asleep when put in the car, put in a car seat. You raised your hand. Do I take it one or both of the twins fall asleep when you put them in the car?
Sometimes.
Okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Correct.
And you indicated you knew someone, family or close friend who had an affair.
Correct.
Is that somebody you can tell us about?
Nephew.
I can't hear you.
Nephew.
Okay. Is this recent?
Yes.
Okay. And is this something that he talked to you about, told you about it?
No.
And is this someone who you're close to?
No.
Okay. I think we're going to have some follow-up later for you in private, but that's all I've got for right now. Thank you.
Sure, 30. Don't want too excited. All right. You are a second grade teacher? Retired second grade teacher, okay. And for your entire professional career, did you teach? Was that basically your job throughout?
No, I was a fitness instructor
After
after school.
school hours?
After school hours.
Okay. And your husband's retired as well, U.S. Marshal and TSA?
Yes, FBI. He was with Capitol Police for a while. He was with something else, unfortunately, I don't remember that.
Okay. So I'm just going to guess that you guys originally lived somewhere else and moved here because he came to Flexi.
I met him here when he was in Marshall.
Okay.
Brunswick office before he went to Flexi.
Okay. All right. Okay. And now that you're retired, and I know you have grandkids as well, but what do you do in your spare time or hobbies? What are your hobbies?
I love to read, cook, and work out.
Okay. It's kind of kept that whole fitness instructor type thing. All right. You talked about some things that or connections you have with other people in certain fields. I believe you said that you know somebody in the court system or somebody that works in the court system.
I have a friend. She's a lawyer, and her husband is a judge here.
Okay.
Just recently become a judge.
Okay. And which judge? I don't know the judges here, but.
Baker. Same Baker.
You obviously you know people who work in law enforcement. Is that lots? I assume most of them are they from your husband or just different?
Well, I have friends from my husband that I've come to know over the years.
Okay. And just a quick question on that note. It's going to be asked one way or another. In a case, if you were to be selected as a juror, would you be able to sit and listen to the testimony of law enforcement and basically apply the same laws about credibility and things like that as you would to a normal person?
I could listen to it, but I have a very high respect for law enforcement. I just have great respect for them.
Absolutely. I guess my question is, though, would you basically look at what they're saying and things like that and just use logic and reason and what the law is about doing that?
Are you saying, do I respect the law?
No. What I'm saying is,
Slow.
yeah. Would you just accept what they have to say no matter what it is, or would you basically see if it makes sense?
It would have to make sense.
Okay. All right. I know these sound like crazy questions, but we have to ask them a certain way sometimes for, I'll just say,
But I don't think
legal
I'm
issues.
I'm down to work for law.
Okay. We understood. Same with military. You're friends with people who are in the military and things like that. Yeah, because I assume, do you have family members or friends who are in the military?
My daughter is currently involved with an Army Ranger who has a criminal law degree.
Okay. And as far as people in the legal field and things like that, are you talking about that or something else?
We have a
Neat.
very good friend who was the assistant director to the FBI, just recently retired in the past couple of years. My son works for the State Department, works in the American Embassy over in Paris right now.
Okay. How long has he been there?
Almost 2 years.
Wow, so he was there with all the mess. Yeah. Well, good to hear he's safe. You know people in the medical field as well?
I have friends whose husbands are doctors and a few nurse friends.
I believe you stated you've also known somebody who's worked in the field of psychology or had some training experience in that field, or psychiatry or something.
It's when you teach school,
Yeah.
a lot of times when you have these special meetings and special instructions, psychologists will come in. So I know him through that field.
Okay. And you answered the question about criminology. Were you talking about your daughter's the Army Ranger?
She has a degree in criminology. My husband also, that was his major.
Okay. You also stated, I believe, that you know people who work for Child Protective Services. Is that through your work with us as a school teacher? Now, you have also had the opportunity to serve on a jury.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many juries?
One.
Okay. Was that here in Brunswick?
He's here in Brunswick.
About how long ago? We're not going to hold you to it.
1977,
Okay.
1977, 78, somewhere around there.
And were you? Was this a criminal case or a civil case?
It was a breaking and entering.
Okay, we're going to call that criminal then. So breaking and entering. Okay. So with that, without telling me what your verdict was, were you able to reach a verdict as a jury?
We did after 2 or 3 times delivery.
Okay, so you go in, come out, go in, come out. All right. So you weren't able to reach a verdict. Were you actually the foreperson or not? Or were you? What's that?
Was I against the right?
No. I think I trailed off foreperson. Were you the foreperson of the jury? Like the person who you were like the president of the jury?
Oh,
No. Okay. Somebody else got voted into that seat. Okay.
you took second grade for as long as I did. You become
Okay. All right. Moving on to some of your other organizations and things you may be part of. I believe you attend a church or another religious organization locally.
I do.
Okay, and what is that?
I am a sacristan, Eucharistic minister of the St. Louis Catholic Church.
Okay. And going on to kind of social media and the news and things like that, are you a big news follower? Mediocre.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Watch more politics.
Do you do you get most of your news from the internet, newspapers, radio, TV?
Newspaper, a little bit. What you can get out of this newspaper.
Well, I was going to ask you which, but I'm not going to follow up on that. So moving on.
Facebook I use mostly to see the children's pictures. I don't like to get into the politics that are on Facebook. I don't like to publish my
Okay.
radio, yes.
And do you usually follow like national news, or do you keep it more local, like what's going on around here?
A little local, not so much.
Okay. Now, as far as the use of technology, I guess, and looking at this type of stuff and things like that, first of all, do you use text message? Okay. Do you use any other applications like Facebook Messenger or things of that nature? As far as, how about the other things I listed, like Instagram, YouTube? Are you involved in those things?
YouTube just to study.
Okay. All right. So, moving on from that, I believe you've stated that over the time, at some point in your life, you've had to take care of somebody who's been either sick or disabled or something like that.
Yes, I retired from teaching to take care of my parents. And then I helped an elderly couple that I knew many, many years ago. My husband developed Alzheimer's and I would go and help her out.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you've always also taken the opportunity to volunteer with children in the past. Was that as a mother, like doing stuff with your own children, or something different?
Well, when I was working at the club, they had a children's program there, and I did that for a little while. No, often. I think I taught swimming 2 summers.
Okay. I believe you've known somebody who's been arrested for a crime before. You've known somebody who's been arrested for a crime before, or something like that. Okay. Would you rather talk about it in private?
No, because actually I respect the law, and she broke the law with my daughter.
Okay.
DUI,
All right.
when she was in college.
And do you believe she was treated fairly?
I do. I mean, that's the law.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. You've also, I think you said that you've been a witness before in a case, either a civil case or a criminal case.
I had a student, parents were it was a custody battle.
Yes, ma'am. And you've also had to file a police report before or give a statement to the police about something?
Yes, this past June 25th, we were in a car wreck, my husband and I, and had to take a statement.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Everybody okay?
The car told us that we're okay.
Oh, well, that's most important. Not probably, that is what's most important. And you also answered the question about having to report suspicion of child abuse before. I assume that's as your job as a teacher.
Yes.
You've known somebody who has, I believe, used the internet to date before, or met somebody online that they've gotten involved with romantically or something of that nature.
Not to the internet, it was a long time ago.
Okay.
Very typical.
Okay.
Get in shape and then they kind of flirt around.
What's that? I'm getting shape and then flirt around.
And then they flirt around and that's how you.
Oh, I think we're talking. Are you talking about the question about do you know somebody that had an affair? Okay, I thought I was asking something different. Have you ever known anybody that's ever done online dating or met somebody on the internet that they?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, we've got that question covered now, so we can move that one. Yes. So, who do you know who's dated online or met up with somebody?
Met his second wife.
Your what? Your
My
brother-in-law.
After he lost it to my sister.
Okay.
He met his new wife online.
Okay. I believe you stated, or you answered a few questions about children being forgotten in cars and things like that. Do you know of stories about that, or know somebody who's done that before, or something?
Just one back in 2004, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman who, the windows were down, but she left her child in the car, but it was very one day, and someone noticed the child and called 911 and brought the child back.
Okay. And this was all the way back to 2004. Okay.
Yeah, around that time.
And this was something that it was happened around where you were, or?
It happened at the school I was teaching at.
Okay. And I believe you stated you've heard commercials and things like that about, it's very dangerous to leave your kid in the car, either intentionally or negligently, accidentally, whatever. Okay. And how long have you been hearing about those things?
For years. I mean,
Years.
It's seasonal. I mean,
Right.
In the winter, you bring your plants and pets in, and in the summer, you
Okay.
don't leave your pets and children in the car.
Right. So I guess for years this has been a very common understanding that this is dangerous, and you should take steps not to have that happen. Okay. I know you didn't answer anything about being really interested in legal TV shows and anything like that. You probably get enough stories from your husband about.
He says they're all hokey, so I don't watch them.
I will agree with that. But you said you like to read. What type of stuff do you like to read when you do?
Mostly romance books.
I know nothing about that, so I can't follow up. So I think I'm done. Good. All right. That's all the questions I have.
Hey, good morning. The incident you're telling us about that you remember from 2004, 2005, did you say that was in this area?
Yes.
Okay. And it was because it was at a school that you were teaching at the time? Okay. And you said a woman left her windows down.
I believe the story was that she went to pick up her child from daycare and came back because we had a faculty meeting. She left the child in the car. And someone took the child away.
Okay. All right. So if I get this wrong, correct me. Your understanding was she picked the child up from daycare, went to the school for a faculty meeting, rolled the windows down, and knowingly, intentionally left the child in the car so she could go to a meeting.
Yes.
Okay. So that case didn't have anything to do with forgetting a child then. She intentionally left the child there.
As far as I remember, that's the way
Okay. All right, and then you said that you seasonally will hear reminders on the through the media or whatnot about not leaving or forgetting a child in a car, and TV, radio, internet, anything in particular that sticks out that you've heard or where you hear these reminders?
TV or radio.
And are they public service announcements?
Yes.
What about the one we mentioned about the Governor's Look Again campaign? If you're familiar with that one. You're not familiar with that? Governor's Look Again campaign?
Look again, probably get out.
All right. But you said seasonally, so these have been these PSAs you've.
Right.
This isn't the first year you've heard them.
First year, no.
It's not the first year you've heard them.
I've heard it for years.
And you have grandchildren that are 2 months and 2 years? Okay. Something, right? All right. And are you ever in a position where you're transporting them in the back in the car seat?
I've transported my grandson once because they left the States.
Yeah.
So I haven't had that.
Okay. By any chance, do you know if your grandchildren, if their parents have any sort of routine reminder to look in the back or to put something in the back to remind as a fail-safe so that they won't forget the child in the car?
I don't know if they have a routine, but I know that they're conscientious people.
Okay.
Noisy.
Kids are what?
They're noisy.
Oh, the noisy variety. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Boring asked you, you said you have very high respect for law enforcement. Then he asked you, you wouldn't just believe an officer no matter what they said. And you responded, no, but I wouldn't doubt the word of a law enforcement officer.
I would believe, that question's really messed me up. I believe whatever a law enforcement officer says. I have that much respect for them. I just don't think a law enforcement officer would present false information.
Okay. Any law enforcement officer, you wouldn't have to know them, just somebody who is in that line of work. You just simply believe that they would not tell a lie.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
They learn the badge.
Right. So if they're ready that testified in this case, you're going to believe them basically no matter what they say. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're 31. Let's see. You didn't raise your hand to too much, so it shouldn't take too long. Starting off, you're a landscape architect, correct? Okay. I guess as a professional, is that what you've always done since you left college? And do you own your own business?
No.
Okay, you work for a company that does this. So I believe you stated that you know somebody who prosecutes or is a prosecutor.
I believe he's the city solicitor.
Okay, here in Brunswick.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's his name?
Brian Corey. His wife, Megan Corey, I think also works under a judge. I'm not sure which one.
All right. And how do you know him?
Just friends.
From being around?
Yeah, same age. I think we were both interns here for the county when we were in college.
And did y'all go to school at UGA? All right. You also, in your job, you have it, or either in the past or right now, you've had the opportunity to have supervisory responsibilities, correct? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
For certain, projects that that we've estimated and sold to clients, we have 3 different crews that are capable of doing that work. So throughout the week, I'm over any given number of those crews if it's my project to oversee it.
You know some people who are a person who's in the military?
Yeah, I have a friend.
Or was?
Yeah, I have a friend that's in the military right now. He is a Marine Beret.
All right. I believe you stated you know some people who have legal training in the legal field. Is that who we've already talked about or somebody different?
No, my best friend, roommate in college, he was in law school during the time we were roommates, and he lives here now.
Okay.
So I pretty acquainted with all of his friends in that whole class at UGA.
Okay. And does he, what type of law does he practice?
He doesn't practice anymore.
Okay.
He moved on to something else, but he was working for a firm. I think they just handled any kind of litigation.
Okay. And you know people who have been in the medical field? Or you know people who work in that?
Yeah, I mean, I know a few nurses around here. My dad is a pharmacist, and my brother is I think he's the manager of the pharmacy department at a hospital.
All right. You also attend church here in Glenn County?
Yeah, Westwood United Methodist.
Now, you're younger, so you're probably going to have a little more experience than some of the other jurors with social media and things like that. Obviously, I'm sure you text, correct? Do you use any of those other cell phone applications for messaging, like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I've used all that.
Do you use any of that stuff regularly, or do you usually text?
Yeah, I have a brother that lives out of the country, so WhatsApp
Yeah.
is a free service to text and communicate with him.
Okay. And are you on Facebook and Instagram and things like that? Okay. And what do you use it for usually? Like we've heard some business, personal, family,
I mean, just use Facebook to Facebook.
just regular. Yeah. All right. Figure out what people are eating that day. You know.
Yeah, all the
Like, oh, so and so's having a taco. Great.
good stuff.
Yeah. There needs to be one places to eat in Brunswick to give us some hints. So it'd be nice. So if anybody wants to create that, it'd be awesome. All right. Any of the other stuff I read, we talked about, like Scout or Kick or any of those things. Are you familiar with those?
No, I don't know about that.
Okay. Now, Craigslist, how are you familiar with that?
I've sold stuff on there, I've bought stuff on there.
I believe you stated that you at some point have communicated with somebody you've never met online, either some type of social media forum or something different like that. Tell me about
Yeah,
that.
whether it's Craigslist,
Yeah.
or just certain stuff on Facebook, like commenting on photos, stuff like that.
I believe you stated you've given an online opinion before. Something like that. You've given your opinion online. Is that just like commenting on Facebook? Like,
I'm sure.
okay. Anything more than that? Like, have you ever read an article in like the New York Times and responded with a comment or something like that?
No.
All right. You stated you watched some legal TV shows, both fiction and nonfiction. Tell me about that.
Law and Order, I guess.
There's about 17 of them. Which ones do you watch?
I guess the SVU one is
Right.
the most familiar one. Watched that Netflix Making a Murder.
Right.
My girlfriend's always watching that show or that channel, the Discovery Channel, whatever it is. It's a show on there called Snapped.
Yes, we've all heard of Snapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they're not getting any ideas from.
That'd be a good idea. Usually somebody's dead. So, let's go back to that. When you were also asked a question about docudramas and things like that. Other than Making a Murderer, have you ever listened to podcasts or any of those documentaries, pseudo documentaries?
No.
Okay. And with Making a Murderer, did you after watching that? Did you watch the whole series? And after watching that, did you ever go seek out and like look online to try to follow up to see, how it was portrayed and whether that followed the evidence in the case or what really happened or anything of that nature?
No, I think the only thing I saw recently that I think that guy was on parole or something recently in the news that something has changed as his, as far as his status of being incarcerated or not.
Okay. And after watching that, did that give you any particular, I guess, feelings or opinions about the criminal justice system? I know that was in another state, but...
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess, more detailed than your average, like, TV show stuff, so just kind of more strategy on each side. I guess dive deeper into the whole process.
Okay. And did you get the feeling that it was a fair portrayal of what actually happened?
as far as I know.
As far as you could tell. All right. I believe you have contested a ticket before. Okay. And we heard a bunch of interesting stories about that yesterday. Sorry y'all weren't here for it, but tell me about what happened.
It was a parking ticket. I guess I went back to get my car and it was not there. I was parked. This was downtown Athens.
Oh, yeah.
Parked on a curb that apparently was painted yellow, but it was so old that the yellow was not standing out anymore.
Right.
So I contested. I took photos that day of the curb.
So I'm sure they snatched your car up right after you left, probably.
And
They were waiting.
curb,
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I had pictures of being painted. They, when I contested, I went to the courtroom. They had pictures of it being painted. It was
Right.
like a week after. And I said, "Well, this is that day," and they said, "Well, yeah, okay."
All right.
But I still had to get my car out of the
Did you sue the county? It'd take more time and effort than doing that. Yeah, it's never mind. There were some interesting stories about how to get out of tickets around here yesterday, but I'll let that be. Anyway, thank you very much.
What years were you at UGA?
2004 to 2010.
Okay, and you told us that your best friend when you were at UGA was in law school at UGA. Is that right? Who is that?
His name's Clement Collins.
Clement Collins? And he lives here in town? Okay. Are y'all still roommates? All right, and you said he doesn't practice anymore. He did for a while. By any chance, do you know if his practice included criminal defense at all?
I don't think that was their main focus, but I think they had a few cases here and there, but whether it's helping out someone they knew or something like that, but that definitely was not their main focus.
And he didn't represent you for your parking ticket in Athens?
No.
All right, so you told us you watched Making a Murderer, and what I want to know is what got you to watch that show? Was it people talking about it, or did you see an advertisement for it and think, that looks interesting?
Yeah, people talking about it, and then I came in, my girlfriend wanted to watch it, so we ran through it.
All right, and that was my next question. So apparently there are two categories of watchers, those that were watching it each week as it came on, and those that power watched it through a weekend. Did you just watch the whole thing at one time? Like 8 or 10 episodes or however many it was?
Yeah, I think we did about a week and a half.
Okay, and then same, so, to the extent you haven't already answered this, did you do any sort of independent follow-up after watching that show? Did you get online and look to see what happened after the show, to check the accuracy, or to check on any of the players? Just watched it and that was it? Okay. What organizations did you participate in at Georgia?
I was Kappa Sigma fraternity, and then within my actual college there was a American Society of Landscape Architects.
Okay. All right, and I believe you also answered that you had heard news accounts or stories of child left in a car other than this matter.
Yeah, I couldn't detail each particular one, but I've heard several on the news, over the last couple of years.
Nothing comes to mind as far as when you heard it, what the circumstances were, what state it was. Just you're familiar with hearing this
Yeah, I
word.
think a few in Florida, but that's about as detailed as I remember.
Few in Florida. Okay. And I take it it's not a subject matter which you have researched or pursued or followed up on in any way. I believe you also said that you had heard public service announcements, but I think the ones you said you heard had to do with reminding not to leave your animal in a car. Do you know when and where you would have heard those?
Heard them on the radio, seeing, all the vet offices around here have them on their billboards. But that's a yearly thing.
When it gets hot? Do you have an animal?
Yes.
You have. So you always hear about cat people and dog people. I think that you have dog people and animal people, because it seems to me like cat people still like dogs. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I'm a dog person. I just kind of have adopted.
Yeah, dog people don't like cats, but cat people, they kind of like all animals. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to charge you for that 2-bit philosophy. Okay, that was a freebie. All right, we're getting close. You also answered that you had to hire an attorney, and I don't think that's something that I don't think that's something we've gone over yet.
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about?
That was the offenses on my behalf.
I can't hear you.
So that was just offenses on my behalf that I needed an attorney for.
Okay. Some arrests that you had to hire an attorney to help you with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mind if I just follow up with you in a few minutes about that later on? Okay. And if you mentioned this already and I didn't catch it, I'm sorry, but I think you answered yes if you had any close friends or family who had experienced the unexpected death of a child.
Yeah, my parents had twins before me, and they died several days after birth.
Just, Judge, if I could have just one moment. All right, I think that's all I've got for you right now, Jim. Thank you.
For the most part, places that have this issue let's say 1:15, keep an open mind and don't discuss this matter with each other or anything else, or let anyone speak with you at all about the case. Have no contact with attorneys, parties, or witnesses to the case. Don't allow yourself in any way whatsoever to be exposed to anything. I'm being as emphatic as I can. I'm being as all-encompassing as I can. Nothing to do with this case. Nothing electronically, nothing media-wise. If you can think of it, don't do it. That's the best way I can put it, because probably y'all can think of things I don't think of. So don't do anything about the case at all. And finally, I hope you have a really pleasant lunch, and we'll see you back at 1:15. You're excused.
It's all rise with the jury.
We're in recess. Everybody have a good lunch.